Now it is time for our next lecture. So for how to identify and achieve your goals, I'd like to invite up the National Leader of Australia, our wonderful uncle of wisdom, Reverend John Adamedes. Let's welcome him up with a big warm round of applause. Woo!
So hello everyone. So you can hear me fine, can you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to say thank you to Reverend Utaka and for all of the second gen here in Australia and Oceania have organised this. I'm really happy to be here, and I hope I don't disappoint you. I also want to say that I really enjoyed Ken's presentation. You know, really brought a tear to my eye as well as his own eyes. So he, you know, it was really heartfelt and really bringing Father, you know, really alive and present. My one's going to be a bit more practical, but I was inspired because we by Reverend Utaka this morning, where Mother talked about youth by Samuel Ullman, and I found it. And before I start mine, it goes for a minute and 40 seconds. I just want to share the screen and show this. It's a really lovely little poem that Mother also enjoyed and mentioned that, you know, she was very touched by it. So I just want to play it so you can, you know, understand what it's like to be a youth at any age.
Youth by Samuel Ullman. Youth is not a time of life, it is a state of mind. It is not a matter of rosy cheeks, red lips, and supple knees. It is a matter of the will, a quality of the imagination, a vigor of the emotions. It is the freshness of the deep springs of life. Youth means a temperamental predominance of courage over timidity of the appetite, for adventure over the love of ease. This often exists in a man of 60 more than a boy of 20. Nobody grows old merely by a number of years. We grow old by deserting our ideals. Years may wrinkle the skin, but to give up enthusiasm wrinkles the soul. Worry, fear, self-distrust bows the heart and turns the spirit back to dust. Whether 60 or 16, there is in every human being's heart the lure of wonder, the unfailing childlike appetite for what's next, and the joy of the game of living. In the center of your heart and my heart there is a wireless station. So long as it receives messages of beauty, hope, cheer, courage, and power from men and from the infinite, so long are you young. When the aerials are down and your spirit is covered with the snows of cynicism and the ice of pessimism, then you are grown old, even at 20. But as long as your aerials are up to catch the waves of optimism, there is hope you may die young at 80.
So it's a very nice. Yeah. So it's really a state of mind is youth. So this passion, this excitement, then you are forever young. So now I'd like to just share my presentation. Just 1 second. All right, so you can see that, how to identify and achieve your goals. So this is a bit more practical, so you will need your pens and paper and write things down. I'll try to make it artistic as well as, you know, this would be like a lesson at school in some ways. And some of the things that I mentioned here are things that they are doing in schools in America. And so this is really how the world at large identify and achieve goals. And also at the same time, I'm going to share Father's words. I'm also going to share about how it is to achieve it and how to really take ownership and responsibility for it. So before, well, I'm starting, but before I get right into it, you know, this is like cracking the egg, which is our theme, and finding hope And the idea of cracking the egg is that the egg is new birth, new life, new growth, and it is really the essence that we start from. It's like a seed, and the seed grows into maturity, but you have to challenge yourself and go through things. So I'll just show this, so read it, and it's very short. So here it goes. Happen from the inside. So it's in us. Yeah. Even the Bible says, where do you find God? You find it in us. It's in us. I don't know if you know this book, The Little Prince. It's by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. He's a famous little book, but he writes some little things that help give little insights. If you haven't read it, it's a little nice book to read. So just some of the things he mentions in this little book. One sees clearly only with the heart. Anything essential is invisible to the eyes. So the most important things you can't see. So that's why hope and love and honesty, you can't see them. You feel them. And that's why even when you go to spirit world, you still can't even see God, because that's the most essential thing. So a goal without a plan is just a wish. So this is all about understanding how to achieve your goals, how to understand identity, and how you are, what you are. So another reading on, perfection is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. That means you have to tame yourself. You have to control your body. You have to, once you control yourself, then you can manage everything. What makes a desert beautiful is that somewhere it hides a well. So what makes you beautiful is that deep inside of you, there is living life. The water of life can come from you. So this is written by this French man, and they're basically principle. Principle is universal. The divine principle that our true Father gave us is the universal laws of heaven. You have the laws of nature that describes physical things, and then you have the laws of heaven, which is the principle. And the principle is everywhere. And what our true parents give us is they give us the principle not only explained, but lived. So I want to talk about the core reason before you get into establishing goals, and that's feelings and emotions. And you may have seen that little cute cartoon movie where these characters come from. And as it says there, we all feel emotion. And Dr. Sarah McKay, who's actually a New Zealand neuroscientist and works here in Australia, and she wrote many famous books, and she said this: emotions play out in the theatre of the body. Feelings play out in the theatre of the mind. She clearly is explaining that emotions and feelings are not the same thing. They're two different things. And that one is physically manifested, that's the emotion, that's the body, and the feeling is in the mind. That's what you make up from it. That's what affects you and keeps you motivated or makes you angry. So while emotions are temporary, the feelings they evoke may endure and accumulate over a lifetime. They can accumulate into a life of happiness and joy, or they can accumulate into one of being angry. It can be a perpetual cycle if no action is taken. In other words, understanding yourself, part of the process in being able to control yourself is it controlling your emotions? Remember, the emotions are part of your body. So that's a physical aspect that you can control. Emotions cause unconscious feelings, which trigger new emotions that go on to produce more negative feelings. So we have to be careful about that. So looking from it, you've probably seen this sort of diagram, feelings and emotion. This is a give and take action. If they are centered on love, or LSO, living for the sake of others, if you have that priority firmly set up, then this works out to be something good. But if you have a different priority at that beginning point, which is the reason for the emotions and the feelings to come together, then it will act out what it is. So if you're doing it because of selfishness, living for yourself, then this ends up being different. But if we do it with love, then our feelings, which are subject, and our emotions, which are object, can form a correct relationship. They can work together. And as you know, when give and take action is correctly realized, then it produces all the forces necessary for existence, multiplication, and action. That means that if you have a feeling that acts on an emotion, you can actually do something good for someone, or you can actually be a pain to someone. And it's your choice on how you manifest that. So when you become more self-aware, and this is the whole idea, and I hope that you get from this presentation, is to become more self-aware, identify your emotions and feelings. Because if you understand how you work, then you know how you're going to respond in any situation. Because we all have our own special character and personality that's unique from God. It's up to us to be God's representative. So you can determine their origin, acknowledge their presence, then take control back in navigating your life. Don't get swayed by your emotions and go off and thinking you can't do anything about it. You can control your emotions. So by increasing our understanding of our emotions is the key to taking back the power over how we feel. So you wonder why you feel upset. Well, you've got to understand the emotion that got you there in the first place. Are you angry with somebody? Are you dissatisfied that someone hurt you and didn't acknowledge? You've got to understand your emotions, which helps you to understand yourself. We can then begin to consciously change our lives and behavior. You can change yourself because we turn off autopilot and increase our sense of autonomy and purpose. What that means is once you understand the emotion, instead of just reacting automatically because of this is what the emotion stimulated, like I'm upset, so I react this way, you can, by recognizing that this is the emotion, you can change the action that follows. So by the action is what makes it substantial. And if you make it substantial, you want that substantial action to be something that's positive and helpful to everybody. So the role of emotion is twofold. And this is a biological and socially connected within our human society, because we're biological beings and we're socially connected because of family. And there's two main roles of emotion. One is for our survival, that's our protection, our safety, our security. And the other is to let others know how we feel. And so that is vital for the communication. Do we just only let our body language explain how we feel, or do we use words to help how we explain? And also, can we describe the way we feel? So the ability, we have the ability to change ourselves and to create the lives we want. So first, you've got to understand yourself. Then you've got to figure out do you really want? What's the most essential part? So by getting curious about your emotions and learning how to understand them, long-lasting change is possible. Learning about our emotions is the first step in establishing control over our lives. So because we are made up of intellect, will, and emotion, right? And so the intellect helps us to have understanding. The will helps us to push ourselves to control the emotions, because the emotions are motivated by heart, and they're supposed to be motivated by the heart of God. And if we have the heart of God connected to our emotions, then we never fail. So taking control, by avoiding our emotions or numbing them, we prevent ourselves from accessing valuable information on what we need. So you shouldn't be ashamed if you get upset. Okay, you shouldn't hide your emotion, but then you shouldn't use your emotion as a weapon against someone else. And if we are unclear about what we need, it is harder to make decisions. Got that? If we are unclear about what we need, it is harder to make decisions. So you want to make the right choice. So learning to listen to what our emotions are trying to tell us can help guide us towards what's important in our lives. And there's this little table here that talks, has emotions there. And like the first one says sadness. And the action that this sadness does ends up, we slow down, we withdraw. We don't talk. And the communication that comes out from sadness is there's the communication coming from our body and our spirit is there has been a loss, something I'm not happy with didn't happen the way. And what is needed is healing. There needs to be some healing taking place so that the sadness can be overcome. It has to address what has been lost. And first we have to figure out what has been lost. Okay, if I go down to shame, it says the action is you tend to hide or cover up. And the reason I'm saying shame is that's exactly what Adam and Eve did right in the beginning. They were ashamed, and so they tried to hide and cover up and pretend it didn't happen. But they're communicating, there is something wrong with me. And so when they were hiding from God and behind the bush, and God can say, where are you? He knew where they were. You're behind the bush. But they were ashamed because they did something wrong. And so what they need social acceptance and approval. But to receive that, they have to communicate, have to be honest, have to be clear. And that's the same with understanding emotions. We have to be honest. We have to be clear, not pretend it's some other reason. So these are things in helping us take control of ourselves. So now I'm going to go into this idea of goal setting and identity. And these are a few set of videos that I have that explain these things. And some of these are used in schools in America because they're changing the way that education is happening in some schools by bringing more character, more responsibility, and teachers are doing these things. So I'll just play this one. 5 golden rules.
Would you set off on a cross-country trip without a map, a GPS, or even a clear destination in mind? If you did, you might have an interesting adventure, but there's also a good chance you'd wind up somewhere you didn't want to be. This is why it's so important to set goals. Goals act like a roadmap for your life. They help you take control and guide you along your journey so that your experiences are rich, satisfying, and enjoyable. To accomplish your goals, you need to know how to set them. And there are 5 golden rules that help you do this. One of these is to set goals that genuinely motivate you. Try to imagine working day in, day out towards a goal that doesn't excite you very much. It doesn't sound much fun, does it? If something isn't very important to you, chances are you'll give up before you achieve it. When you think about setting a goal, take time to analyze why it's so meaningful to you. If you're not truly excited about it, then it's probably not worth pursuing. The next rule is to set SMART goals. There are many variations of what SMART stands for, but in essence, goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. SMART goals work best because you can evaluate your progress objectively. Another rule is to put your goals into writing. This physical act makes them tangible and real. They feel important. When you write your goals down, use the words "I will" instead of "I might" or "I would like to." "I will" rings with power and intention. You've set yourself a mission and you intend to accomplish it. The fourth golden rule is to make an action plan. By writing out individual steps and crossing each one off as you complete it, you'll realize the progress you're making towards your ultimate goal. This is especially important if your goal is big and demanding or will take a long time to accomplish. The final rule is to stick with it. Remember, goal setting is an ongoing activity, not just a means to an end. Set reminders to keep yourself on track and make time to review your goals regularly.
So there are some 5 simple golden rules. I hope you're writing things down and because this is useful for yourself in the future and this is the standard way people in general do it. So I'll just continue.
Would you set up?
So this here, be smart, brighter than today. This here gives a bit more clarity to this smart processing of goals. And this is used in schools, in businesses, in communities around the world. It's a common way that people organize themselves to handle how to create a goal and how to figure out what you want to do. So I'll just play this one.
How often do you set goals? How often do you revisit your list? Goal setting is a powerful process for thinking about your ideal future and for motivating yourself to turn your vision of this future into reality. If you want to succeed, you need to set goals. Without them, you lack focus and direction. So, today I'll explain the SMART goals and how you can apply them to your life. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. S stands for specific. What exactly does it mean to be specific? A specific goal should answer questions like:
what needs to be accomplished? Who is responsible for it? What steps will you take to achieve it?
For example,
I want to have a lot of money.
Or,
I want to be better body.
what does all of this even mean? These goals are not a SMART goal because these are not specific. A better example would be: I want to have $1 million in next 5 years. Or all going to the gym 4 times a week for a 1-hour workout. You could even mean more specific. 4 times per week could mean every Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. M stands for measurable. SMART goals should be measurable in that you can track and quantify the goal's progress. If your goal is simply defined as lose body fat, how will you know when you achieve this goal? You need to define exactly what body fat percentage that you want to achieve, 6% to 13% for example. Basically, you break the big targets into other smaller objectives. A stands for achievable. Designing your goal to be achievable sets you up for success, because you'll be more likely to continue working on a regular basis. Setting attainable goals makes them possible. For example,
I want to make $1 billion by the end of the day.
It is impossible goals. A much more attainable goal would be making extra $50 by the end of the day. When you've achieved this, you can then go a step further and try earning extra $100. R stands for relevant. Nobody wants to set goals for the sake of setting them. Your goals should be relevant to the direction you want your life. Setting too many goals is a common mistake. Instead, use the quality, not quantity rule when setting goals. Work out the relative importance of everything that you want to accomplish over the next 6 to 12 months. Look at the example: I want to learn Japanese because I love the way it sounded. After 1 year, I realized that learning Japanese language would not be useful for me. So I stopped learning Japanese language, and it took too much of my daily time, while I was getting nothing out of it. I know, speaking Japanese fluently would be great, but it is not relevant to overall career plan. So ask yourself why you want to obtain this goal before making commitment. T stands for time-bound. A SMART goal must be time-bound in that it has a start and finish date. If the goal is not time-constrained, there will be no sense of urgency and therefore, less motivation to achieve the goal. If you don't set a deadline, you have basically unlimited time to take your action to achieve your goals. When you have a deadline, your sense of urgency increases and you're motivated to achieve your goal. For example, building on the goal above. On September 1st, I will register a membership at my local gym center. To be healthier, I will work out 4 days a week. Every week, I will aim to lose 1 pound of body fat. By the end of September, I will have realized my goal if I lose 4 pounds of fat over the course of the month. Now that you know what a SMART goal is, why it's important, and the framework to create one, it's time to get inspired to put that information into practice. If you have any goals that you're focusing on, let me know what you're working towards in the comments below. Together, we'll become brighter than today.
Yeah, so that explains those different SMART goals and how, and basically a simple description. The more you get into following that SMART idea, you can then make your goals more real. But that's just an understanding at the moment. But more vital than the goal itself is identity. Okay, and so this is another short little video about the power of identity, and it puts the goal setting situation into perspective, because understanding identity gives you the whole realization in a nutshell, and it gives you the opportunity to succeed. And so identity is really vital. You know, the more we truly recognize and understand that our identity is, I am the Son of God, I am the daughter of God, God is my Father. The more that is in your heart, the more you can actually do anything you set your mind to. Okay, so I'll just play this, the power of identity, and it takes a study of old age, but anyway, just have a watch.
There was a study done at Yale University on the psychology of aging, and it was a 23-year study. They talked to people, and they basically went into one of 2 cohorts. The first cohort had positive views of aging. So when they asked them how they felt about aging or what their expectations were for old age, they had relatively good things to say. You know, I would be moving into the prime of my life, or I'll be smarter than I've ever been before. They were very positive about it. The second group was very negative about it. My body's going to wear down. I don't have much to look forward to. Everybody gets sick. We'll all die at some point, that type of thing. What they found was that of the 660 adults in the study, the ones with positive views of aging lived, on average, 7.6 years longer. And that actually is a very significant number. Things like exercise and diet don't account for 7.6 years in life expectancy. So why, if your view is positive? The reason is because you'll take healthy actions as a result, and if your view is negative, you'll assume that deterioration of your health is inevitable. If you have a positive view of aging, you'll say something like, well, I should continue to eat healthy and work out because I feel good about moving into old age. I still have a lot to live for. Whereas if you have a negative view of aging, you'll say something like, what's the point in me exercising? I'm going to get sick anyway. I'm expecting to get old, and so on. The point here is that there's a deeper level of behavior change and habit formation than what we often discuss. And the way that I would describe it is this. The outer layer of behavior change are the results that we get, the outcome, the goal. So that's the outside layer. Often we say we need better goals. We need better outcomes. We need better results. We need to hit new sales numbers. And so to do that, we take one step in on behavior change and we talk about our actions. Now, The actions and the results are usually where we stop when it comes to habits and behavior change. We say, how can we build better habits? How can we take action on this particular goal? How can we take an action to get a result? But I would argue, and that Yale study would prove this, that there's a deeper level of behavior change as well. And that level is identity or belief or mindset. You can take your pick of what you'd like to term it. But the identity that we hold drives the actions that we take and the results that we get. So in the Yale study, the people have a positive identity when it comes to aging. They believe that they should take positive actions, and thus they get better results in the long run. We'll take a common example when it comes to personal habits, weight loss. So losing 20 pounds or 10 kilos over the next 6 months, that'll be the outer layer, okay? That'll be the result that you're going for. In order to lose those 10 kilos, you need to move in to the actions that you take. And so that would be something like working out 3 times a week or eating healthy. But most people stop there. So for example, in this case, the identity might be, I want to become the type of person who doesn't miss workouts. And my argument is, if we focus just on the identity, if you become the type of person who doesn't miss workouts, if you become the type of person who exercises consistently, and only focus on the core of behavior change, it ripples out to the other layers anyway. So the key idea here is that a shift in mindset leads to a shift in daily choices. And a shift in daily choices leads to significantly better results in the long run.
So you got the idea? If there's results, actions, identity. The center is identity. You know what the identity is. The others just flow on easily. So you got to realize that identity is me. Okay. So what is that identity? Yeah, it mentioned that another way of saying it is belief. Okay. So what do you believe about yourself? So that's something to think about, because how you believe in yourself is what determines your identity. Because what you believe in, do you believe in God? Do you believe in yourself? I mean, there are things. And then the other term they use is mindset. And this is my way of thinking. So how do you think about things? Do you understand how you think? So all of these things, the more you get into identity is not just a simple thing. Oh, who are you? Oh, well, I'm John. That's a label. Yeah, it's like that old saying, is a rose still a rose by any other name? Of course it is. It doesn't matter what you call it, but the essence is how you relate to it. All right, so just continue on. So our mindset, which is a really crucial thing to getting to know who you are, and also to getting to know others if the mindsets are connected. It's our own minds that get in the way of our goals. So we have to unlock our mind, like that picture is showing. We make all sorts of excuses for why those goals don't get checked off our list, and we become our own worst enemies. We need to define your fears instead of your goals. So understanding what's stopping you can help you get started. Banish the word fine. It's okay, I'm fine, it doesn't matter. No, I will do it, as the lady said. I can achieve it. I will make the first step. Approach your obstacles with curiosity. An obstacle is not a wall that stops you. The idea of curiosity is there's an obstacles in your way. So how do you get around it? You have to figure it out. You've got to have a curious mind to think out of the box. How do you get around the wall? Do you go over it? Do you go under it? Do you go through it? Do you explode it? Do you take a whole different direction to get around? So, and also embrace your near wins. This means failures, because a near win is not a win. You almost did it, but how close did you get to it? So you need to embrace them, because you learn by the attempts you make. Like Edison spent 1,000 times before he eventually came up with the right system for the light bulb. Okay. So there are 2 basic mindsets that people have. You've got a growth mindset that gives you freedom. You've got a fixed mindset, which is very limiting. And it doesn't matter what age you're in, doesn't matter, however, is your mind fixed and you think, oh, that's it, I know it? Or is your mind in a growth situation? Well, I don't know it, I need to know it. Or I don't know it, can you help me figure out how to know more? And that's something I found, I've been a teacher for many, many years, and the more you study, the more you realize how much there is to learn. And usually people who just start learning think they've learned all there is to learn, but that's not true. There's so much more that you learn each day. And so there are 7 actions and attitudes that work. And this is something that's actually been implemented in 57 schools, in high schools in America. And it's, started in 1915, this whole process of bringing mindsets and achieving results by understanding your identity. And so they actually start with these 7 points. I'll just quickly go through, but you can see that there. If you want to take a screenshot, you can. Everything is possible. And it goes, this is anti-clockwise is the way it counts. So that's the first one. Everything is possible. That's number 1. Everything is possible. So you dream big, embrace creative, think positive, act and adjust. The second one is passion first. Focus on strength, explore your interests, take a stand. Be authentic, be real. Don't just take things for granted. We are connected. Embrace everyone. Maximize positive relationships. Build your dream team. Lead with value. That means you need to communicate to achieve things. You can't do it by yourself. In fact, we never did anything by ourselves. We were born by our parents, and our parents feed us and clothe us, and we don't live totally in isolation. We always need people. Okay, the time is now. When do you do something? Now. It's not tomorrow. It's now. Why now? Because that's the only time action takes place. Embrace every moment. Get in the zone. Be valuable. Act with purpose. Okay, live to give. Stretch yourself. Make a difference. Receive gracefully. Create legacy. These things are actually principal things, and these things people recognize are the way to achieve success, the actions and attitudes to change yourself. So they're actually telling people, live to give. Living for the sake of others is the true core of God. Okay, attitude of gratitude. Treasure yourself. That means be happy with who you are and be more grateful to others. So when you're grateful, you have to say to God, thank you for giving me life, not be upset with, I don't know what to do. Thank it forward is a concept. So help people to be grateful, elevate your perspective. And the last thing there is 100% accountable. Own your own life, overcome limiting beliefs, focus your energy, grow through life. These are all things and they're described, but you have to apply them. And the more that you think about them, understand them, revisit them, you can then begin to understand yourself. And when you understand yourself, then actions and results come. All right, this is another little cute story. And then after this, I start going into Father's words on different aspects to do with goals and our life and our identity. So listen to this.
Once upon a time, there was a young, athletic boy, hungry for success, for whom winning was everything. And success was measured just by winning. One day, the boy was preparing himself for a running competition in his small village, himself and 2 other young boys to compete. A large crowd had gathered to witness the sporting spectacle, and a wise old man, upon hearing of the little boy, had traveled far to bear witness also. The race commenced, looking like a level heat at the finishing line. But sure enough, the boy dug deep and called on his determination, strength, and power. He took the winning line and was first. The crowd was ecstatic and cheered and waved at the boy. The wise man remained still and calm, expressing no sentiment. The little boy, however, felt proud and important. A second race was called, and 2 new, young, fit challengers came forward to run with the little boy. The race was started, and sure enough, the little boy came through and finished first once again. The crowd was ecstatic again and cheered and waved at the boy. The wise man remained still and calm, again expressing no sentiment. The little boy, however, felt proud and important. Another race, pleaded the little boy. The wise old man stepped forward and presented the little boy with 2 new challengers, an elderly frail lady and a blind man. "What is this?" quizzed the little boy. "This is no race," he exclaimed. "Race," said the wise man. The race was started, and the boy was the only finisher. The other 2 challengers left standing at the starting line. The little boy was ecstatic. He raised his arms in delight. The crowd, however, were silent, showing no sentiment toward the little boy. "What has happened? Why not do the people join in my success?" he asked the wise old man. "Race again," replied the wise man. "This time, finish together, all 3 of you. Finish together," continued the wise man. The little boy thought a little, stood in the middle of the blind man and the frail old lady, and then took the 2 challengers by the hand. The race began, and the little boy walked slowly, ever so slowly, to the finishing line and crossed it. The crowd were ecstatic and cheered and waved at the boy. The wise man smiled, gently nodding his head. The little boy felt proud and important. "Old man, I understand not. Who are the crowd cheering for? Which one of us 3? Asked the little boy. The wise old man looked into the little boy's eyes, placing his hands on the boy's shoulders, and replied softly, "Little boy, for this race you have won much more than in any race you have ever ran before. And for this race, the crowd cheer not for any winner. You see, in life, in your life, what are you running for? Are you hungry for success? Is winning the only measurement for you in your life? Who are you running against? And if you always win against everybody, then soon the people will stop cheering for you. At the end of your life, if you look back, the question is, who was running next to you in this race? If they were weaker and old, did you help them to get across the line? Did you all finish together? Because that is the best race you can ever run. So run this race called life. But don't forget, it is not important if you win. It is important how you run this race. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.
Stay blessed. And it's true that success comes when you win. But the key to what this is telling us is that we should do it so that everyone wins. It should always be a win-win situation. Everyone wins. Just like in this race of life, you know, we all enter into the kingdom of heaven together. We all hold hands together and cross together into heaven. This is what God wants to see, because we're one family, we're his children. So this is our responsibility when we enter this race, is
Once upon
together. So now I'm going to just read some Father's words in relation to a lot of these things, and hopefully this, there's maybe six or seven slides, and then I'm finished. So everything wants true love. Father gave this in February 13 in the year 2000. So not just anyone can say they have true love. Only God can really love with true love, and only God absolutely owns true love. So that's where love is coming from. God owns true love because God's the creator of everything. God's true life, God's true lineage, and God's true conscience emerge from true love. In this way, the most fundamental essence of God is true love. And true love in practice, its action, is living for the sake of others. Personal influence, knowledge, money, or military power cannot ensure a person will be a welcome in the world of true love. Everyone wants true love, yet such love is possible only when we live for others. So when we do what God does, that, in other words, win-win, in other words, live for others, then true love comes to us. We need to sacrifice and serve our partner. That's what living for the sake of others is. Sacrifice is giving up the thing you want, but it's not a loss, it's a win because we're giving it as an offering. Everyone avoids a person who relates to others with the mindset that says, you have to live for me. This kind of selfish individualism is Satan's strategy, purpose and tool. The result is always hell. Like we talked about, mindset, the mindset that you have. In other words, the way you think about things is the action that you end up carrying out, and the result is basically being alone. We need to live for the public purpose. If a person lives for others, sacrificing himself or herself and serving the public purpose, everyone and everything will come to love that individual because everyone wins. Okay. So this is from the Chambumo Gyong, Book 3, Section 3, Conditions of Devotion and Guidance on Faith. And this is another tool in setting goals, another tool in understanding your identity. It's another tool in helping us connect to God. And Father is saying to us, prayer is truly powerful. Prayer allows you to be in complete control of your environment without having to say a single word. Before you go somewhere, I always pray for 24 hours focused on my goal. I pray even while I am eating and resting. I do not pray for my own sake. I pray for the sake of humanity and for God. So prayer is a fundamental thing. People forget about it, when they're studying or doing other things or setting goals or trying to make an action plan. You need to pray because through prayer, you can get divine inspiration. In other words, God has an opportunity to tell you something, or God tells one of your relatives in spirit world, give this idea to that person. Because when you think, many, many times thoughts just come in, and you have to open a channel so that positive thoughts come in, so that you can come to have a positive outlook and change your mindset. So as a peace-loving global citizen, the rest comes from Father's book and actually comes from chapter 8. And it's actually the last part of that book is all about a message for young people. And since this is a workshop that we're doing for young, and is finding your purpose, change your life is the area that I'm going to read these few slides to do with that, how to get your passion, how to release your passion, how to determine yourself, get a clear mindset. It is difficult to find young people today who are passionate about their lives. We find so many young people who, with no goal or purpose for their life, are just wandering around. You've got to get out of that. You've got to change your mindset. Just wandering around goes nowhere. You just go around in circles. You need a goal. You need a purpose. You need to clarify your identity. All great leaders in history had a definite sense of purpose in life from the time they were children. From childhood, they nurtured that purpose held within their hearts and exerted great energy to achieve it, whether they are sleeping or playing with their friends. Every youthful action of these great leaders was geared toward preparing for the stage that they would stand on in the future. Is that how you are living your life? Think about it. You are going to become a great leader if you choose to follow these principles. Do not define your life goal in terms of how much money you want to make. I have never received a salary, but I managed to eat and stay alive. Money is a means to do something, not a goal. It's actually a tool. It's a tool, just like a hammer. You need money to be able to do things. Before you make money, have a plan for spending it. Money gained without a prior objective will soon be wasted. Your choice of occupation should not be based on just your talents and interests. What is your objective in life? So you're just doing this occupation to better the environment and circumstances of not just you and your family, but for everyone. To set your objective is to give meaning to the life you will lead. So you need to be clear about the identity of things. Okay. There is no one as foolish as the selfish person. You've got to get that in your head. Being selfish is stupid. Who lives only for his or her own sake. All the schools I have founded have 3 mottos. So father and mother, they've created many schools around the world, and there's 3 mottos. The first is, live a life that casts no shadows, as if you were under the sun at high noon. A life without shadows is a life with a clear conscience. When we finish our life here on earth and go to the spirit world, our entire life will unfold before us as though it were being played back on videotape. So if it's clear, then what's played back will be a clear life. Whether we go to heaven or hell is determined by how we live. No one else sends you to hell. No one else sends you to heaven. Your life, your attitude, your understanding of the love of God manifested in you is a pathway to help you live a good life, to become a good person. So we need to live spotlessly clean lives, casting not even the smallest shadow. The second motto is, live shedding sweat for earth, tears for humanity, and blood. Back, and it was called Blood, Sweat and Tears, and it's something that you need to do, and Father's talking about shedding sweat for earth, tears for humanity, and blood for heaven. And that song was basically telling people, don't be stupid and thinking about yourself and thinking a narrow point of view, but open yourself up and do good. So basically singing a principled song and actually explaining, to live a life that is centered on blood, sweat and tears. So there are no lies in blood, sweat and tears that people shed. There is only truth. There is no meaning, however, in the blood, sweat and tears that a person sheds for his own sake. This great investment must be shed for the sake of others. The final motto is one family under God. There is only one God, and all human beings are brothers and sisters. Differences of language, race and culture account for only 0.1%. All human beings, we are 99.9% the same. So think carefully where the best place is to plant your goal so that it will bear the best fruit. That's why there's the egg, back to our theme, because it comes from the inside. We have to plant it in ourselves so that it becomes our identity. Where do you plant your goal? Inside. Where is the kingdom of heaven? Inside. Where do we get the motivation of love? From inside. When you are setting your goal, be sure to consider the entire world. Consider Africa, which continues to suffer from poverty and disease. Consider Israel and Palestine, where people continue to aim their weapons at each other and fight over matters of religion. Consider Afghanistan, where people barely keep themselves alive by raising poppy plants used to make harmful drugs. Consider the United States, which has thrown the world's economy into a pit with extreme greed and selfishness. Whether you do good work on the large continent of Africa or in the small country of Korea, your goals should not be restricted by size. Your goals should be about where your talents can have the most impact. Please think beyond your own country and think of the world as your stage in setting your goal. If a person's goal in life is to graduate from a university, get a job with a company that will pay him a high salary and lead a secure life, then that person will have the success of a puppy. But if he dedicates his life to helping refugees in Africa, he will have the success of a lion. The course that is chosen depends on the heart of the individual. So success, are you going to be a puppy or a lion? It's up to you. The world is like a living organism in that it is always changing. This whole world is one body. New problems are always arising. I go to the dark corners of the world where the problems exist. These are not, excuse me, these are not the places with beautiful views or comfortable amenities. But I feel happy in places that are dark, difficult, and lonely because that is where I'm fulfilling my mission, my purpose, my goals. My hope is that Korea will produce global leaders in the future sense. I hope to see more political leaders who will lead the United Nations to fulfill its purpose and more diplomatic leaders who will stop the fighting in the areas of conflict. And like here, this youth workshop, you guys are the future leaders, and it's whether you accept taking that on a small level or a big level, it's up to you. But we need global leaders. And this is the last slide. I hope to see someone like Mother Teresa who will take care of those wandering and dying on the streets. I hope to see peace leaders. And that's where we should be thinking about. We are peace leaders who will take on my mission of pioneering new solutions from the land and sea. The starting point is to have a dream and a goal. Please have an adventurous and pioneering spirit. Dream dreams that others dare not imagine. Set goals for yourself that have meaning and become global leaders who will bring benefit to humankind. So thank you, everyone. So those are things to think about. And I did have some discussion questions, and those are up there just briefly, and probably Rebecca will put them in the chat. You know, when you come to think about it, what are the 5 golden rules? What are the SMART goals? What do you understand by identity and mindset? So things to think about. All right. So thank you. And that's me finished.
Thank you, Reverend John.